still joining, so let's wait a couple more minutes. So, welcome everyone to this 39th annual General Meeting done on this Thursday, June 11th, 2026. Can you all hear me very well? Okay, thank you very much. Hi, Leah, are you there?
Hi, I'm here.
Okay, that's good. Just to make sure that you're there to turn on the pages. Am I turning the page or you? You're the one turning the pages. So I think we can start. So hopefully you all had a chance to read the rules of conduct for this meeting today. Please use your chat function to ask questions at the appropriate time or voice oppositions to a motion. There is no requirement to vote in favor. We are using a consensus style meeting, and you therefore only need to use your chat to make or second a motion, or if you are opposed to a motion. Questions and comments with regards to this meeting may also be emailed to our secretariat, and she will respond in the coming days. Thank you, Matt, again, who is our moderator today, and will be monitoring the chat as we go along. If we don't get to all of your questions, please know that we are committed to respond to all of them in time. The CRBOH will record the meeting in the event that a member has difficulties and who is unable to join. Any other recordings, however, is prohibited. Very well. Thank you. So please take a moment to review the agenda for today's meeting. Very well. May I get a motion to approve the agenda, please?
We have one in the chat.
Yeah, okay, yes. Thank you. May I get a seconder? Okay, thank you very much. Any opposed? No one is opposed. All are in favor? No one opposed. Carried. Thank you. May I get a motion to approve the minutes of 2025 AGM by someone who was in attendance, please? One. Yes, I see a motion to approve. Okay. May I get a seconder, please? Okay. Any opposed? All are in favor, I guess. No one opposed. Carried. Thank you. Hello, everyone again. I'll be speaking for the next 5 minutes. So please find the 2025-2026 Board of Directors of the CRBOH. They are, by the way, again, a great team to work with. We advance a lot of projects with them. A happy, very happy board, by the way. So we have Joey and Alex for the OH Central Western Provinces, Brad and Matthew for OHT Western and Eastern, Stefan and I for Quebec, Kevin and Suzanne for Ontario, Roberto for Atlantic Provinces, and Altara, who is our registrar since 2024. As you all know, once a year we have our board of directors meetings done in face-to-face. Last year was done in Vancouver, and we met with a very wide array of occupational hygiene professionals, students from UBC and BCIT, as well as providers for occupational hygiene instruments. We had a record attendance and a lovely evening. Some booze. We were, as you can see, all happy there. So it was a nice time. This year we are planning to meet in person in Halifax in October of 2026 with the AOHA APH technical sessions. So if you're attending the AIHA, or if you're in the vicinity of Halifax, or if you never thought of going to Halifax, but maybe it's the time, well, come and knock on our doors. Let's have a couple of drinks together. For the key accomplishments, well, we have established the volunteer committees for the 2027 IOHA Scientific Conference in Montreal. We continue the collaboration with strategic partners. We've developed the examination provision support page on the website. We've improved the application process for new candidates, including updates to the examination handbooks. And we continued as many years to work on the competencies, roles, and responsibilities for all roles within the organization. As for our ongoing projects, well, of course, we will have the 2027 IOHA Scientific Conference, and we're working with the committees to make it as a success. We also developed the CSA standard for occupational hygiene management for quite some time right now. We're at the phase of doing the research in the all of Canada in order to see if the standards is feasible. We update and finalize the competencies, roles, and responsibilities for the ISO 7024. We update the CRBOH newsletter procedures, and that's the reason why you may see gaps between the last one and this one. We've developed the criteria for validating collegiate and university fast-track programs. And finally, we partnered with OHTA to expand our reach internationally. Let's leave the floor to our beloved Vice President, Suzanne.
Thank you. Well, as Kiet just mentioned, we've been busy planning the Iowa 2027 conference. Next slide. So just to give some highlights on how that week's going to look, we do plan on having professional development courses and technical tours planned for the Monday, October 4th. The conference sessions will actually take place the Tuesday to the Friday, so October 5th to the 8th. And then there will be a ticketed gala event at Marché Bon Secours on the evening of October 6th. That's the Wednesday evening. Next slide. Yeah, we've been busy. And we have, gosh, we were overwhelmed and excited about the eagerness of everyone to participate and volunteer to be on these number of committees, which isn't surprising because the CRBOH itself runs on volunteers. And so we have set up all of the various conference committees. The conference organizing committee is led by myself and Renee LeBlanc. The Scientific Conference Content Committee, it's a mouthful, is led by Jerome and Victoria. The Local and Social Planning Committee is led by Kiet and Guillaume, and the Translation Committee is led by Stefan. The Exhibitor and Sponsorship Committee is led by Dr. Janyep and Sarah, and the Volunteer Committee is led by Alex and Leah. We're very excited. And our call out for volunteers have maxed out for now. None of the committees are looking for any, but stay tuned. We may need some more volunteers as the dates of the conference get closer. So dates to remember. The portal for the sponsorship and exhibitors has opened, and all the information on the prospectus can be found on the iowa2027.com website. The portal for the professional development course abstracts submissions opens very soon, July 1st. And the portal for program session abstract submissions opens September 1st this year, 2026. The registration opens November 1st, and that may seem early to some, but for our international colleagues who will be joining us, we need the registration open for them to organize their visas, etc. So the registration will open November 1st. And we are live on LinkedIn now. If you look up Iowa Scientific Conference, you can connect with the LinkedIn page for the conference. Another project that we've been working on over the last few years really is the alignment of our policies and procedures to the ISO 17024 standard for the general requirements for bodies operating certification of persons. We're moving along. We've tidied up some of the policies and procedures, roles and responsibilities, and we've even looked at the internal audit program or procedure that goes along with it. Right now, we're keeping the internal audit process that goes with a lot of ISO standards internal for now. It's very early days, and once that's established, we may open it up to volunteers from our membership. Yeah, it's a slow go, but we are still pushing along with the ISO alignment, I guess you could say. And now I will let Alex speak on behalf of Kevin on the Treasurer's Report.
Hi, everyone. Next slide, Leah. So at a high level, the organization continues to perform quite well financially. We've once again closed this year with a modest surplus, and we have also begun to set aside some funds to support the Iowa conference, as Suzanne was just talking about. This is reflected in a slight reduction in the cash at year end, but this was planned. We're seeing strong growth in the exam revenue, and this has been driven by some policy changes that we've made, including modernization of the exam process and streamlining the application system. And importantly, our membership trends have reversed. After several years of decline, we now see an increase in our membership, and this is supported by strong candidate volumes and record participation in spring 2026. Our in-person engagement continues to strengthen. The Vancouver AGM that we previously touched on had strong attendance, lots of students, and we're hoping to continue this type of events and extend our outreach with partnerships, and we expect to support continued growth for the next upcoming years. Next slide. So looking at our financial position as of December 31st, 2025, our total assets increased to 222,941, and this is up from 206,461 in 2024. And this includes approximately $98,000 in cash and just over $87,000 in short-term investments. You will notice a significant increase in prepaid expenses up to $36,951. And this is primarily related to funds that we've had to advance related to the Iowa conference. These are recorded as assets because the services have not yet been received, ensuring that these expenses are going to be recognized in the correct period. So on the liability side, our total liabilities right now are $42,876, which includes $35,000 and change in prepaid membership dues. And these are also recorded as liabilities because the revenue will be recognized as membership services are delivered. So our net assets right now are just over $180,000, which is continuing a trend of steady growth. Next slide, please. So turning over to the operations side, our total revenue for 2025 was $110,000 and change, up from $101,000 and change in 2024. And the most notable increase was actually in the exam fees, which rose to $22,600. And this reflects the process improvements we've made and also the strong demand right now. Membership dues remain stable, slight growth, and miscellaneous income has decreased modestly. Expenses increased to $98,000 and change, and this was primarily due to the AGM and other in-person meeting costs, such as the Vancouver event. But overall, the organization generated a net surplus of just shy of $12,000. And this is slightly lower than previous years, but it does reflect our deliberate investment in member engagement and some of these future initiatives. Next slide. So as always, we did complete a third-party external audit. It's done, and we've issued They've issued the report. The audit confirmed that our financial statements present fairly in all material respects. The financial position and results of the organization are in accordance with Canadian accounting standards for not-for-profit organizations. The auditors reported no fraud or suspected fraud, no illegal acts, no significant internal control weaknesses, no disagreements with management, no uncorrected errors, and no unusual or related party transactions. And they also confirmed that we were fully cooperative and provided them access to all the required information. Next slide, please. So at this time, I am going to ask for a motion to approve the 2025 audited financial statements. Okay, I got an approver and a seconder, please. Great, thank you. Any opposed? Okay, none opposed, so the motion is passed. Next slide, please. Thank you. Similarly, I will ask for a motion to appoint the same auditors, Scarrow and Donald, for the 2026 financial audit. Wonderful, and I see a seconder in there as well. Thank you. Any opposed? With none opposed, the motion is passed. Thank you very much. That's it for the financial report. Passing it on to Altera for the registrar's report.
Thanks very much, Alex. Okay, so over the past couple of years, we've been working on a few improvements. So one of the main ones was trying to improve and maximize the online testing platform, UTestMe, from a user experience perspective for the most part. But we haven't really had the capacity to improve the back-end maximization for our exam chairs and our statistical analysis. So we're very thankful to have Ken Major that has joined as a new volunteer as the exam systems liaison, and he's really going to be helping us improve our understanding and use of the system so that it potentially takes less time for the exam chairs to create their exams, and we can pull some good stats out of there. The other thing that we've been actively working on with our webmaster is to move the application system to be fully online. The goal of this is to enable us to better manage the applicants and each testing session, while also allowing the candidates to have kind of a streamlined approach from application through membership, their maintenance points, and then into retirement. So this is new, it is live, and we are working through all of the love of new system online, but very excited to have that move to an online and removing kind of any of those manual steps that can lead to error. So very excited about that. Next slide. So as you can see from the graph, we had a drop in 2019. This is pretty much the same update as last year, but it kind of remained consistent for a few years, and now we're seeing an increase again over the last year. And particularly, it's kind of hard to notice on the graph, but the ROHT numbers are increasing year over year, particularly in the last couple of years. So that's exciting. Next slide. So we currently have 247 ROH members across the world. The bulk you'll see are in Ontario, but we are represented across Canada and internationally. Most of our international members are American, but we do have one in Poland, one in Scotland, and one in the United Arab Emirates. Next slide. And similarly for our ROHT, we have 109. I have a little typo there. It says ROH, but total ROHTs are 109. The bulk of those are in Alberta, but again, we do see membership across Canada. And we have an international member in Saudi Arabia and the US. So yeah, these numbers, the ROHT numbers are kind of going up. As you'll see in the next couple of slides, we've got lots of new ROHT members to welcome in the last couple of years. So next slide. This is, again, just kind of a summary of the paths of how you can obtain your ROH and then as well your ROHT. So most of our members come through the regular track. We do see a good uptake of the fast track, and we've seen an increase in the UBC members using the fast track option as well, which is exciting. And then with our NAR applications, typically those are from CIHs that are going to take the oral exam and move into becoming an ROH as well. And I'd say we've had a bit of an uptick of that in the last year as well. Primarily our Canadian CIHs also obtaining their ROH or looking to obtain their ROH. And then just the pass rates are there. You'll see the ROH exam continues to be kind of the most challenging exam for people to have success in. We get some good success in the fast track phase 1, and then the phase 2 has a very high success rate. And we have a good success rate with the NARS and the ROHTs as well. So it looks like it's a pretty good balance of a challenging exam, but doable. The number of ROHT in Quebec isn't correct. Okay. Well, thanks, Capucine. We'll look at that, but those were kind of the updated numbers that we got. Thank you. And yes, Dave, I agree. The potential legislation driving the Alberta numbers, we have seen, particularly in the ROHTs, we've seen a lot of Alberta applicants. And next slide. Okay, so typically I would read out our new members. However, we've had so many last year and this year that I'm just going to pause and allow you to kind of scan, or we'll go over time in this AGM. So it's very exciting to have so many ROH and ROHTs join us over the last 2 years. We had 16 new ROHs in 2025. So welcome. Next slide. We have 8 new ROHs already this year. This doesn't include anybody who wrote the spring exam, so we're still scheduling those oral exams for them to move through to the full ROH membership. But congratulations to those who, primarily these are people who wrote in the fall and then have since passed the oral or challenged the NAR process. Next slide. So we had 15 new ROHT members last year through the spring and the fall examination process. And next slide. As the Treasurer's report noted, we had record participation in 2026, and this is primarily due to the ROHT membership, though we had an increase in ROH as well. So we welcome 22 new ROHTs this year who have joined us primarily over this last month following the spring exam. Just a little bit of a call out, and a large number of these 2026 members are from the Canadian Armed Forces program. And the next slide. Congratulations to our recently retired members. I hope you have a great retirement. We want to thank you for your contribution to the field and our community and the health of workers over the course of your career. So thank you very much and enjoy your retirement. Next slide. Oh, that's all for me. So I think I'm passing it over to Joey for the committee reports, if nobody has any questions. I think I answered all the time. Thanks.
Do you want to just flip to the next slide, Leah? I think Matthew is first. Yep.
Oh, very good. Well, hello, everyone. It appears I am first. So this year's been a very engaging year with the NAR committee. We've worked on, part of what we do as a committee is we review different organizations to ensure that we're all up to the same international standard. We've been doing that review. I've reviewed a few countries' programs myself. We've also reviewed some current applicants that are coming in who want to become part of the larger organization of which we are a part of. We now have a chief reviewer who is tasked with providing the information to everyone to keep everyone in the same line, much what Leah does with us. We also work with other groups to work on the consistency of the standards throughout the different organizations. We as an organization, we as CRBOH have brought things forward to the committee and have brought forward some good information, some good questions, including things on abilities and disabilities and that sort of thing, to be able to work on making sure that it's accessible to everyone. We've been able to transfer information. We've been able to get information from other groups and bring it over to our group and be able to make our organization better, more efficient, and be able to serve you better. Realistically, that's what we've been doing as a committee. I don't want to take up too much time here, and I did see the question that came into the chat, which was what NAR stands for. I apologize, I didn't explain what that is. It is the National Accreditation Recognition. So basically, we recognize other organizations should you wish to cross over to a different organization, to a different group. That's basically what we do. So with that, we'll move on to the next slide and to the next person. Thank you.
I think this one's me. Back to me. So this year, some of you may have heard of this alliance. We've finally started marketing ourselves, but the acronym is COSHPA, and it stands for the Canadian Occupational Health and Safety Professions Alliance. And forgive me, I'm not going to do the French one because you all cringe at my pronunciation. But we are a pan-Canadian alliance of 6 leading Canadian organizations that are all focused in the occupational health and safety field. And the CRBOH is one of the founding members, and the other 5 are listed on the slide. And this year, we accomplished quite a lot as part of this initiative. So we finally, as I mentioned, started to develop some forward-facing documentation. So we have a website now. It's linked here. We also have a LinkedIn page now, also linked here. We are aiming to be active on the LinkedIn platform and keep the website up to date as much as we can. Quite recently, we filmed an educational video, which is aimed at the public. So it's not intended for other health and safety professionals. It's aimed at the layperson. So those people out there who might not understand what exactly we do on the hygiene side. Similar story for the ergonomists and the safety professionals. And it's not even released yet. I haven't even seen it. I don't think anyone has. But when it is finally, cleaned up and released, it'll be something that we'll be sharing on both platforms. And we also quite recently had the second in-person meeting, and that corresponded with the BCRSP 50th anniversary conference that just happened in Niagara Falls. Next slide.
So I could speak a little bit more to our memorandum of understanding that we have with BCRSP. We do meet on a regular basis. I think it's every other month now, with the leadership of BCRSP, and we were a proud sponsor of their 50th anniversary celebration conference that took place in Niagara Falls last month. Yeah, and we just congratulate them on 50 years of their organization. That's amazing.
Absolutely. And next year is our 40th year for the CRBOH, so we're closely on the heels. We already skipped the slide, but I can just briefly touch on the yes, thank you, Leah. The Alberta Society of Health and Safety Professionals. So still nurturing that relationship, and as someone alluded to in the chat, the legislative changes that are kind of in the wings going on in Alberta is still something that we at the CRBOH hope to be involved in and support in whatever capacity that we can. Next slide. Thank you. On to you, Brad.
All right, let's jump right into the communications promotions report. So this year, you may have all noticed that we had one less newsletter than we typically have in a calendar year. We spent a lot of time late 2026 and kind of late 2025, early 2026, restructuring and retooling our flows of the newsletter committee. We found a lot of redundancies, a lot of maybe us not utilizing volunteers to the best of our abilities as a volunteer organization. So we've done a little bit of a restructure. Ted was our editor. Ted has now stepped into a content creator role. We've actually rolled up all the editing into the secretariat role with Leah, so she can coordinate and manage all that stuff in a little bit more of a streamlined fashion to allow for better use of volunteer time. We've also streamlined some workflows with the translation committee to allow us to move things hopefully in a better fashion. So now in future, going forward, we'll be able to generate more newsletters with probably the same amount of volunteer time. So that's kind of our, going forward, you'll see a lot more newsletters from us as an organization. We explored options for digital badges and certificates for members and new members. We are pausing that for the foreseeable future, just as it appears to be a lower value item for our current members and something we'll look at after our big projects post the 2027 Iowa conference. We're working with a lot of the local sections, AIHA local sections and other hygiene associations across Canada to try and create more collaboration, more discussion, engagement, really trying to meet our members where they are and to look at, talking to other hygienists that maybe don't have a credential yet to kind of help promote ourselves to create that wider community for both credentialed hygienists and those maybe looking to get a credential. We also stood up a variety of committees this year. I'm going to call them pop-up small project committees that took on a variety of kind of communications focused pieces of the work. So I'm actually going to put them in the chat because I should have put them in the slide as a good communications person would. I did not. So I'm just quick thank you and show to a couple of our small committees here. We took on a small project examination preparation support. So we've had a lot of candidates struggle to sometimes find the resources to help them study and prepare for our examinations. And so Ken and Dave took on that piece of reviewing our examination materials. We have a new kind of live web page on the website where people can, if they have a new resource that comes up, we can easily add and allow our candidates to get the most up-to-date resources they can. We also had an exam handbook review committee. So thank you to Ron, Larry, and David for taking time to go through all of our handbooks that we currently have for the exam for both ROHT and ROH to provide feedback and help us modernize them. So they're still currently in that draft form working through because there's a lot of changes to be made. Hopefully to align with Altera's current goals right now in the registrar role of streamlining our process to make the application process very online. And part of that will add in these modernized changes and adaptations to make sure that the whole process is better for our candidates as they go through the process. And then lastly, an ongoing committee. We've taken a slight pause for the last about 4 or 5 months here just to recalibrate, but we have our ROH Competency Framework Review Committee. And so this committee is looking at how we define ourselves as ROHs to help communicate that to external organizations. So we've had some inquiries from both regulatory bodies, employers, other like-minded organizations asking, give us more about what you're about so we can help tool our communications, our job postings, our regulatory requirements to understand, to better intertwine a hygienist into our world. And so this committee is taking a really deep dive into what makes an occupational hygienist and what competencies do they require versus a safety professional or versus an ROHT to really help us create that cohesive framework and understanding of what we are versus someone else and to help others external from us understand who we are and what we do. So the big piece of work really has just kicked off. We also, you may have saw in the last newsletter, there is a call out for ROHTs to join a very similar committee to work in parallel to define ROHT competencies as well. So if you're interested in being involved, Matthew just put a link in the chat to get involved. So very cool stuff happening right now. So please, if you're interested in getting involved in that, lots of work to be done. Then lastly, of course, we went through the process of selecting our Lifetime Achievement Award and Student Award recipients. Sorry, Leah, go next slide. Of course, classic, we have our merchandise on our website available for sale. So you have our stamps and frames to go along with your certificate if you're so interested. In addition to this, we are looking for member feedback on if there's any type of swag, if there's something, you want a cool sweater, a hoodie, a t-shirt, is there something that membership are really feeling would be a value add to either show off that they're a member of CRBOH or that they're an ROH or a ROHT? We want to hear from you. So please send your any promotional ideas. You think we should have keychains, water bottles, Yetis, coolers, you name it. We're interested to know what members would really find valuable. So no polls are going on right now, but just if you have an idea, please send it to any board member or to Leah at the secretary at crboh.ca email, just so we can kind of understand if there's something that someone wants out there. It'd be really cool for us to understand the need and the want, so we can maybe tool our promotional materials in the future to that. Especially with next year being our 40th anniversary, it might be cool for us to do something exciting for members to celebrate that milestone. So any feedback is greatly appreciated on that. Next slide, please. So then really a big thank you to our communications and promotions, our newsletter committee. So it takes a lot of work to create content. It's not an easy lift. And then of course, a big thank you to our translators as well that go through and then retranslate everything to make sure we are bilingual. So thank you to everyone who's done a huge amount of work with content creation and translation on this committee as well. So all in all, that's my report, but thank you to all the volunteers across all the committees I just mentioned, because there's a lot of work happening in the background right now. And I truly appreciate everyone's time.
And back over to me. Next slide. So again, we have lots of volunteers for the examination committees, that's for sure. The written exam chairs are Victoria for the ROH committee and Dave Jarrell for the ROHT committee. Chief oral examiners are Andrea, Guillaume, and Lydia. And as Altera mentioned earlier, we now have an online examination support rep, Ken Major. Thank you. Next slide. So the online written examinations were held in October 2025 and April 2026. And again, Victoria led that committee. And special thanks to Nick, Chris, Matthew, Nicholas, Shemini, and Robin for being on that committee. Next slide. And then again, special thanks to our chief oral examiners. And just a little bit of information about how those oral exam panels look. So each oral exam includes at least one of the chief oral examiners. And then for international candidates, we do try to have all 3 COEs on that panel. Next slide. In addition to the chief oral examiners, the goal is to have 2 panel members. And you'll see here below the volunteers who served as oral exam panel members in the various regions. Due to timing, I won't read everyone out, but thank you very much for those oral exam panel members. Next slide. And the ROHT committee members, again led by Dave, and the committee members included Nancy, Ronald, Brad, Matthew, Guillaume, and Nicholas. Thank you very much. Next slide. And again, we can't thank our volunteers enough. This kind of goes without saying. If there is interest in becoming a marker for either the ROHT or the ROH exam, we do ask that you reach out to through the volunteer portal. The link is still there. And the requirements for being a marker is 5 years experience in the industrial hygiene or occupational health and safety realm, and being an ROH or an ROHT in good standing. So again, if you're interested in joining these committees, then please do so. Thanks again, much appreciated. And I think, Brad, you're doing this one, right?
I was, yes. So just a really brief update on behalf of Roberto, since you couldn't make it today. But as you all know, we collect maintenance points and maintain records of all of our training to ensure that we're keeping up on our credential and that we're always learning and always growing. So as a part of that process, of course, we have our maintenance point committee that does a review of a certain percentage of point reports at the end of the 5-year cycle, depending on ROHT or ROH. So overall, these are just the stats from the 2025 last year, what the committee can say, which is quite a few reviews. So very much appreciated to all the members who reviewed point counts. So in response to the need for attracted and retaining volunteers beginning in 2025, all CRBOH volunteer work has doubled in annual RM points with no cap in points. Committee members will receive 2 points annually. Chairs and some roles receive 3 points annually. So a lot of this change has come around is realizing the amount of heavy lifting that our volunteers do within the organization. And so in response to that is revising our points to reflect the hard work that is being done at that volunteer level. Of course, starting in 2026, there is a new requirement that a 2-hour ethics course required as a part of your maintenance cycle. So is any ethics course relating to health and safety or other professional designations. So there's a wide range to allow people to have the opportunity to find something that fits their schedule. It can, again, of course, can be online or it can be in person, whatever fits your timing and schedule and cost. But just realizing that is now a requirement going forward. And of course, we are currently in discussions to allot points for any members who have volunteered at the Iowa conference in Montreal, specific to the conference. Attendees to the conference will also be eligible for points, but again, all these are just, we're currently in discussions to understand exactly what that allotment will be, but just that there will be to again recognize the effort of volunteers that put time into those committees and into that conference. And of course, huge thank you to our committee who do all this amazing work in the background. So names on the slide there. Unfortunately, again, Roberto would have been here to thank everyone individually and to, give this report, but he was unfortunately unable to today. But again, we appreciate all the hard work of these committees because it's such a vital, important thing that we are ensuring that members are again learning and growing in the profession, not becoming stagnant. So again, thank you to these committees.
All righty. Thank you, Brad. And thank you to everyone for attending today. I'm going to give you some, I guess, highlights for the Future of the Profession committee. So one in particular, to start off with, the committee published what an occupational hygienist can do for a workplace document this year. The document provides an in-depth overview of the expertise, services, and value occupational hygienists bring to improving workplace health and safety. If you have not visited our website, it is available there to have a look. We also continue to work on updating and promoting the title, scope, protection presentations, and other promotional presentations. Here, our target audience includes final year high school students, post-secondary students, particularly through university and college job fair events, with the intent to raise early awareness of the profession in occupational hygiene. We've also worked to provide content for LinkedIn posts promoting the occupational hygiene profession. Here we put together a series of realistic workplace exposure scenarios with the idea that they be shared monthly on LinkedIn in both English and French format to enhance awareness and engagement across diverse audiences. And continue explore options for committee members to make presentations at schools and conferences across our many regions in the country. We welcome ideas and suggestions from members to enhance engagement and impact in delivery of these presentations. And of course, we also continue discussions with stakeholders and key partners in the industry. Next slide, please. And of course, I'd like to thank our volunteers and recognize them. Thank you very much to Beth and to Sarah for your continued expertise and professionalism. I appreciate it.
Alrighty, back to me for award. We can just jump to the first one. So I'd like to congratulate our 2026 recipient of the Student Award, the Mark Corsia Award, Student Award, Kiana Bowman. So congratulations to Kiana on being selected to the Student Award, a well-deserved recognition of your excellence, exceptional academic achievement, impactful research, and dedication to occupational health and safety. We look forward to the meaningful impact you will continue to make for a greater, safer, more inclusive workplace. Kiana put together a wonderful application. She's done amazing work in the community as well as within the local section and broader community. So congrats to Kiana on this award. Now I'll turn over to Kiet to this award.
I think it is going to come to me, actually. So it's my privilege to recognize Lydia Renton as the recipient of the Andrea Sass-Korczak CRBOH Lifetime Achievement Award, an honor that reflects a truly exceptional career dedicated to advancing the field of occupational hygiene and protecting worker health. Over several decades, Lydia has demonstrated outstanding leadership, technical excellence, and unwavering commitment to the profession at local, national, and international levels. From her pivotal role in shaping professional standards and certification through the CRBOH to her influential work in industry, consulting, and global health initiatives, Lydia has consistently elevated the practice and impact of occupational hygiene. On a personal note, I'm deeply grateful to Lydia as my main mentor through the first half of my career. She hired me directly out of my master's program and spent the first 10 years of my career guiding my development, shaping both my technical foundation and my commitment to the profession. Her dedication to mentorship, governance, and public service, alongside her extensive leadership roles across professional organizations, has left a lasting legacy that continues to influence current and future generations of hygienists. Today, we celebrate not only her remarkable accomplishments, but the enduring impact of a career defined by leadership, integrity, and service. So I'm going to hand it over to Lydia, who has a few things to say.
Thank you so much. Well, Tara, it's been a huge privilege. Leah, slide. Next slide. Thanks. I think everybody has a success story, and it's really a great privilege to be awarded the CRBOH Lifetime Achievement Award in honor of Andrea Sass-Korczak, who's a true leader in the field. I'm going to speak a little bit about a profession. I know I only have a few minutes, and I have a bunch of slides, and I have a lot of stories, so I'm not going to be able to tell them or show them all, but I do want to show you briefly the pathway of my career and talk a little bit. Well, everybody's been talking about volunteerism, and I would say I would never have experienced the career that I have without volunteering. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about professional accreditation. Next slide. I've had the privilege to either know or participate in committees or work and with many pioneers in occupational hygiene, mostly in Ontario in my early years, but later on in really many places. And I'm fortunate to have worked with many people who greatly influenced and contributed to my career and my growth, both positively and negatively. And those of you who know my slightly stubborn side probably know that I probably learned more and grew from the challenges. And I've learned that, a team effort, collaboration, working together is always best. This is just a quick resume. I graduated in chemistry. I worked for federal government, Labor and Labor Canada, Health Canada, and then several years with Ministry of Labor, where I really learned a lot about consulting and various workplaces, and then Bell Northern Research and Nortel Semiconductors before finally landing at Blumetric Environmental, where I still am today. Slide. And I know mostly in Canada. But again, I would not have been deemed credible without having a certification or a registration in our profession. So I hold CIH, achieved back, I'll say, in 1986 after 2 days of exams when it was that then, and it's only 1 day now. CRBOH came about in 1988 as a result of professional or potential licensure of the profession into legislation. So Canada couldn't support an American credential. So I received and achieved the ROH through application, references, I call those letters from a friend, fees, a CIH, and grandparenting back in 1991. So why is accreditation so important? Well, it's because the outside world recognizes that someone else is monitoring the science or engineering education, the knowledge, the core competencies, the experience, continuing education, and ensuring our ethical standards. Next slide. So someone, a reputable organization, is verifying that we have the minimum standards. And in our case, it's CRBOH. Which is part of FAIHA. And we're going to be helping to host the FAIHA conference in Montreal, and you'll get to meet a lot of other associations. So, as occupational hygienists, we're detectives of the workplace, and it's our obligation to anticipate, recognize, identify, assess hazards in the workplace. My pathway happened to be through lack of local training. So I learned it anyway, figured it out, and then took the training later. I was a hygiene technician with the Canadian government, and I was doing wet chemical methods. So I started off as a lab tech, then realized, I'm Canadian, so get the ROH. And then why was I even having my ROH? And I asked a few questions. And I ended up taking a 1-year vacancy on the CRBOH board, which then led to being on the board of directors and a number of other opportunities. And I would just say to people, always say yes, always ask more, like, what is the organization doing for me? And then join a committee, really join a committee. And from that, I started doing some international work and ended up being on several international organizations. Next slide, because I'd like to show you more of what I love doing, and that's in the photos. So, it's also really important to have some mentorships, and that led me to various places, including Mongolia, Kyrgyzstan, Singapore. Next slide. But I also like to give tribute to what I consider was my true mentor, Dr. Ted Greger. Some of you who've been around a long time may know him, and I learned a lot from him, mostly because he critiqued my reports. And I didn't like red ink, and he challenged my thinking. He made me figure it out by asking questions and by making sure that I could explain, that I understood what I was saying in my reports, because otherwise nobody would. And we laughed a lot. And that's how I learned how to be a consultant. And it had to be a report that could be picked up and read a year later and be understood. What I want to tell you about occupational hygiene is also opportunity and preparedness. And there needs to be both happening simultaneously to have a great outcome. You can have a great opportunity present, a great job, a company move, but not be prepared. That's not being mentally ready, knowledge ready, skills ready. Or you can be prepared, ready, willing, able to move on, but there's no opportunity. So when they mesh, grab on for the ride. And I've been able to, meet so many people globally and worldwide and travel in many, many places where I otherwise never would have. As a CIH and as an ROH, there's great credibility. With just a BSc in chemistry, there was not. I worked with PhDs and engineers and semiconductor manufacturers, all in that boomy high-tech world. And then after Nortel had a few reorganizations, downsizes, right sizes, and I didn't like was I was going to have to go back to the basics, and I was just going to get a bigger computer. So again, opportunity and preparedness. And I joined a consulting firm quite a few years ago. And I'm fiercely proud of everybody there. Can I have the next slide? So again, I was with, it was originally WISA and now it's Blumetric Environmental. And those of you in the bottom left slide, that was our IH group back in July 2017. We went to the escape room in the Diefenbunker. And, most of those people are around in different places and accredited and with committees and giving back to our profession. A lot depends on the work of volunteers. And I keep asking myself, how can we spread the word about our great profession? And it's usually like anything else, one person at a time. So even when you tell people what it is we do, they often don't get it. So long time ago, when we had our small group, we used to call ourselves CIS. We were outside of Ottawa in CARP, so we were CIS CARP. It's really important to build and be part of a group of talented people. And I'm sure everybody in this meeting has collected a bunch of things we call experience, and you use them daily. But you've seen the names of many of the people who are on this call who volunteer with this organization. But those of you who aren't, don't you think about it? You're going to be amazed at how much our profession will benefit and how much personal satisfaction you get. So I believe that each hygienist has a responsibility to promote and contribute to us. It'll nurture and promote through every avenue possible. One person makes a difference. So I urge you, continue having that passion for your profession. Participate with your association, further your own education, support, certification registration, and global accreditation. Thank you very much. One more slide. And Vero, I told you you were in this. There you are when we put together an asbestos lab up in Yellowknife. And Jody down at the bottom when we were at the AHA in Phoenix. Thank you to everybody who's on this call and for the great recognition. I really appreciate it. Next slide. Everybody, upgrade ourselves in our profession.
Thanks very much, Lydia, and congratulations again. And I'll pass it to Kiet to close us up.
Thank you,
or to
Altera.
the next.
Before presenting our new president, I would like to take a couple of minutes to thank Brad and Kevin for the amazing work because they will be leaving the board. And thank you again for the work you've done. It's very important for us, all the work you've done. So for the next year, the president will be Suzanne. So Suzanne has served on the CRBOH board since 2021 as an Ontario director. She was the board of liaison, as you know, of the examination committee, CRBOH representative on AOHA, and most recently co-chair of the AOHA 2027 conference organizing committee. As an ROH, CIH, CRSP, CSP, CHSMS, Suzanne has a master's degree in occupational health from McGill University and over 22 years of occupational health, safety, and hygiene. The board extends its sincere congratulations to Suzanne on this appointment and look forward to her leadership in advancing the mission and values of the CRBOH. Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you. Truly appreciate it. I'm so looking forward to the next year for sure. And one of my first tasks as the incoming president is to introduce our new ROH director for Ontario, and that is Krista Thompson, who's also a CRSP. I'm so looking forward to working with Krista on this board. For sake of timing, though, I will not read her bio. Just know she's very, very accomplished, super smart, and I'm looking forward to working with her. Next slide. And then also the incoming ROT director for Canada West is Ibrahima Kamara, who also goes by Abe. 13 years experience. And again, like looking forward to working with him as well. And I wanted to personally thank our outgoing directors too, Kevin and Brad. I have no words. Like, they're both great. And I'm looking forward to continuing working with them on various committees for sure. Next slide. We did have some time set aside for, if we were running on time, for question and answers. I did see one question in the chat as we were speaking, and I will answer that one. I had to bring up the budget schedule. So the question was posed, could you clarify whether there's projected revenue for the Iowa conference? There is. And how that revenue is allocated, specifically whether it flows to Iowa or is retained by CRBOH. Excellent question, and I have the answers. So the income split, or I guess the revenue sharing split, is 33% goes to Iowa and 67% goes to the CRBOH, only because we did put down the seed money for the conference. And our budget, our estimated budget, is based on the estimated number of participants. So it's broken down by 550 participants or attendees, I should say, 750 or 850. And the range from 550 to 850, the 550 is pretty much our break-even point, right? The estimated cost, if you take into consideration all the costs out and all the money in for sponsorship, registration fees, and exhibitors, Iowa would get, an example, Iowa would get about $18,000, and then the CRBOH would get about $38,000. On the other end of the range, those say we're super successful and we have lots of attendees and we're at closer to the 850 mark. The estimated revenue is 63,000-ish to Iowa and 130-ish to CRBOH. So really, and again, that's just the estimate. This is our budget that our third-party provider, Global Planning Solution, has put forth. Yeah, I hope that answers your question. All right, so great. If there's any other questions, I know we had to cut that question and answer period short. Feel free to continue to put them in the chat and we will definitely respond to them later. So I need a motion to adjourn the CRBOH 39th Annual General Meeting.
We've got a motion and a seconder in the chat.
Okay, great. We don't even need a seconder, so we're just keen. All right, so we will now take a short 5-minute break, followed by our presentation, Leadership Driven Excellence, Transformational Leadership Drives, Health and Safety Excellence, with our guest speaker, Richard D. Fulwiler. If you have not already done so, please print out the TFL self-assessments and the enterprise documents provided in the AGM reminder email, which will be required for our proposed group exercise. We'll see you back in 5 minutes.
Leah, are you there?
I am.
Okay, can you, at some point, can you bring up my slides? You don't have to do it yet. Oh, there it is. Okay. I see.
I will bring
Okay.
up your. I
Oh,
will
you're
present it,
you're way ahead of me, dear. Okay. And Matthew, are you there? Okay, thanks, Leah. Now, Leah, this is the set that does not have HO after it. Remember, this is not the. I want to be sure this is not the handout version.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
It's not the handout version.
Okay, because I've got a couple of things different. Okay, well, good. Well, thank you very much. And then you'll advance them, and I'll just say next slide or next to make that streamlined. I don't want to be rude. I just don't want to take a lot of time to say next slide, Leah. So I'm just going to say next.
That works for me.
Okay, and is Matthew the person that's going to monitor the chat?
I am indeed.
Oh, there you are.
Okay. I am here.
Oh, hi, Matthew. Okay.
Hello. And I will drop into the, I have the documents to drop in for when you want them dropped in.
I don't know what that means.
Oh, sorry. We had sent out beforehand the exercises to have printed.
Yep.
I'm still going to drop them into the chat just so that, because people being people may not have printed them off, and so they'll be available.
Okay. And then the other thing, Matthew, if I'm gonna say something like at any time you have any questions or comments, raise your hands. And will you see those hands and call on them? How do we do that?
I will do that. I will I can call it out when they come in. I can let you know, or I can wait till the end if you'd rather.
No, I don't want to wait till the end. I want
good enough.
But I tend to stay focused on my topic, and I don't do well. First of all, I got some eye issues, so reading the chat column is a bit difficult for me. And so if you see anything in chat, like if it's, Jane's got a question, and then just read the question, and then we'll comment. And what I do is, if it seems to get a little bit overboard, I simply say, hey, let's take these things offline. If I feel that the interest is just of that person.
Sure. Oh, Leah, just as an FYI, I'm looking and it does not appear to be letting me drop into the chat.
Okay.
I think that's a different role. That's a different admin level. Like if I were as a presenter, I'd be able to, but so.
Okay, I'll try and see if I can do it. Thank you.
Okay.
Now, is it important to quit at 5 o'clock, or do I get the 60 minutes I was given? I want to roll with whatever works for you folks.
Yeah, take the 60 minutes, and if some people have to leave early, they will. So
okay,
sounds good. You can start anytime.
And I might finish a little early anyway. I don't. You never know how these things go.
Yeah.
But,
okay. Well, we're live. You can begin.
Oh, okay. All righty. Well, I still want to welcome you. I've enjoyed on and off your conference this afternoon. And before I go any further, Lydia, I don't know you, but I was impressed, and I want to congratulate you on the award you received, a Lifetime Achievement Award. And when you made the comment about your mentor or whoever in red ink, boy, did I smile on that when I look back at my career and how I had a number of reports, theses, etc., marked up with red ink. So I think we all lived through a little red ink phenomenon in our life. You'd expect me to say it. I'm going to say it. I'm really pleased to be here. And one reason is I'm very passionate about this topic of transformational leadership. And so when you're asked to talk about something you're passionate about, it's fun, it's exciting. And when I retired from Procter & Gamble, I retired with the idea of not working any more 60-hour weeks and not running all over the world. But I did set aside time to work on what I call my 3 professional passions. And the first one we're not going to talk about today is building the business case for health and safety. I'm a firm believer that health and safety drives business success. And so I'm at Procter & Gamble. For a few years, health and safety was looked at as a staff cost necessity. But thankfully, after a few years, we were able to convince the company that health and safety was a critical element of their business success. So I'm always glad to train and talk about that. The other is working with organizations who want to achieve health and safety excellence. I have no interest in working with people who want to achieve average, but I want to work with people who want to achieve excellence. And that's what today's theme is about, because the third professional passion was developing leadership and management skills in health, safety, environmental professionals. And I've done that mainly through a course I designed for the Harvard School of Public Health, which frankly surprises me. It's been going on since 1996. So here I am talking about something I love to talk about. And so thank you again for having me. Now I'm going to be upfront. You've got slide copy, and mine is slightly different by design. It's essentially similar, but it's slightly different by design. Just want to let you know that. And then if you want to raise any question or make any comments as we go along, raise your hand and Matthew will call on you. If I feel your topic is going on a little bit longer, then it might be, I might just say, hey, can we take that offline, and you and I, whoever that individual, can discuss that after this program or any other time. You've got my email address, you got my phone number. If anything comes up based on what I'm talking about today, feel free to call me, email me. The meter won't run. Just as I said, when you're passionate about something, you don't mind working with people. Next slide. Okay, so what's our purpose today? It's excellence. And the only way you can get excellence is if you can engage the audience you want to provide excellent results with. Transformational leadership drives engagement. It's very critical. And I want to talk about the concepts and principles of transformational leadership, and then end with an assessment. Where are you on the transformational leadership scale? Typically, health and safety professionals are doing pretty darn good on that scale. It's the hard-nosed senior line managers that really are pretty far askew and not very well on the transformational leadership skill. Next. Okay, so what are we going to do today? Well, the first thing I want to do is develop awareness, and that's the big letter. If you're not aware of the power of transformational leadership, I want you to leave this segment saying, hey, maybe there's something there for me. I want to stimulate your interest. I'm hoping that we create awareness, stimulate your interest so that you want to go further and look at that little one called skill building. How much skill building can one do in an hour on this particular topic? I hope to do some. And I don't want to minimize that, but basically if you leave here saying, hey, that old guy was talking about something that seems to make sense to me, maybe I want to take that the next step, that's a win for you, and it's sure a win for me. Next. Okay, time for a knowledge check. And here, I want you to use chat. And Matthew, monitor this. I want you to do a little calibration and see what do we understand now about transactional leadership and transformational leadership. So first, I'd like you to put down some ideas of what you think describes transactional leader. Just go in the chat and just want to do a little calibration. So transactional leaders, you get back what you put. Okay, I can read them, Matthew. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I know I mentioned that. Okay, transactional leaders focus on activities and tasks versus formational leader. Good. Okay, another one. Any more? Okay, those are good. They're very good. Keep those in mind. Whoop, back and forth discussions. Okay, give and take. All right, one more. All right, well, let's shut that one down. A couple of very good ones there. Now let's go to this thing called transformational leadership. Just like you did for transactional, throw in chat a couple characteristics of a transformational leader. Okay. Tracks activities and accomplishments. Inspires change. Good stuff. Keep going. Promotes growth. Any more? There's some good ideas there, and let's build on those as we go along. I'll come back to these. So let's move along. But thank you for doing a little calibration. Okay, flexible and empowering, visionary. All right, next. All right, quiz time. Just take this quiz yourself. What percent of the American, and I'm sorry, this study says American. It's a broad, big study. Whether it included Canada, I cannot say. It was done by Gallup. It's a huge Gallup poll. I hope you'll bear with me, and we'll just go with the data they collected. And I'm going to guess it was skewed toward the U.S., but it's still good data, and it's really the concept that I want to get across. What percentage of the workforce do you feel is engaged on the job? Just take a minute, write the number down, and we'll go on with the. Okay, next slide. Next, okay, that's good. All right, this is a huge study, and I'll give you more details on it. But this study's done every few years, and what's happened, I follow it every few years. What this basically says is 33% of the workforce is actually engaged in the work, 70% is not actually engaged. And I'll explain what I mean by that. And the whole name of the game, remember, is if you want excellence, you have to engage the workforce, or you have to engage the team, or you have to engage the family, you have to engage the congregation, whatever. The stuff I'm talking about applies well beyond the workplace. Next. Okay, here's their actual findings. Incidentally, this is a huge survey. About 200,000 workers were surveyed, and they found, as the slide previously said, 33% were actively engaged, 51% not engaged, and 16% actively disengaged. Next. That means we've got a 67% opportunity. Now, the name of the game is not to say, well, let's get 100% actively engaged. That's unrealistic. The whole name of the game is, can I move about 5 or 10% of the people out of the not engaged to be engaged, and maybe 3 or 4% of the people out of actively disengaged up into engaged? All we want to do is increase the percentage of workers who are engaged. In this case, we're talking about health and safety, but it could be cost, quality, production, whatever. So what we really want to do is simply, let's increase that 33% of actively engaged people. And how do we do that? And that's what we're going to be talking about next. Okay, these are Gallup findings. So you say, so what? Here's what Gallup found. Engaged workers are highly motivated, enthusiastic, and energetic about their work. Isn't that the kind of workforce you want? Isn't that the kind of folks you want on your team, your congregation, your committee? Not engaged workers are emotionally unattached to their work or workplace, and disengaged workers are actually unhappy, resentful. Here's the key, counterproductive. Not engaged workers are certainly not overly productive, and disengaged workers are counterproductive. Next. Next. Okay, that's it. Okay, additional Gallup findings. Here's what they found specifically with safety. Safety is included because it's seen as a critical element. Engaged workers are more mindful of their surroundings, more aware of their safety procedures, and diligent about keeping their coworkers protected. There's nothing revolutionary about this. That's what you expect. But that's the power of increasing the number of workers that are engaged in whatever function we're talking about. And today we're talking about health and safety. Next. Drucker. I think I mentioned, and it says I started with P&G a long time ago. Late 60s, early 70s, I was there. And Procter & Gamble was just making the transition from a conventional workplace to something called a high-performance work system. We didn't have that. We didn't know what that term transformational leadership was. That term didn't come into being for a long time. My research says it really didn't get to be popular until well into the 2000s. It existed, but we use different terms. At Procter & Gamble, we use the term high-performance work system, and we engaged Drucker. And some of you know about Drucker, some of you don't. He was a fantastic individual who had a lot to do with improving the ability of the workforce to achieve greater outputs. Anyway, here when he died, this was in the USA Today obituary, and I just want you to understand this talks about where we're going. His concepts turn companies away from treating employees as cogs, persuading management to think of workers as assets and partners, which is how the best companies behave today. We're going to make a transition. I'm going to show you a model, how important it is to just not look at that worker from the head down, but look at the worker differently. And to that extent, Procter & Gamble called our shop floor workers technicians. And we treated them like that. I'm going to talk a lot about Cintas. This is kind of a mini case study. I guess the Harvard thing always rubs off on people, so you got to deal with case studies. There's a mini case study embedded here, and Cintas, and I'll tell you how we got engaged with Cintas in a little while. But Cintas has called their workers partners. Now, big deal, but it's what you put behind those terms that really means it. But that shows that both Procter & Gamble and Cintas thought of their workers as more than just workers. Next. Okay, here's this model. And I'm talking about work systems and engagement. I don't know how many of you know much about work systems. Maybe you know more than I do about work systems. But what you see there demonstrates my artistic capability. And you see what the transactional or traditional work site looks like. They hire the workers from the shoulders down. And fact of the matter is, if you're not engaged, if you're in that 50 or that 30, 50 or 16%, that's you. And I don't mean you particularly, but that means about 70% of the workforce looks like this. They're not engaged or they're actively disengaged. And guess what kind of results that'll get you? Likely, I don't think it'll really get you average, but it might get you average. But typically, you're getting below average results. And so that's the importance and the value of transformational leadership and engaging the workforce. All right, next. Okay, here's the same person. It looks a little shorter, but that's because of my artistic incapabilities. But now let's look at what a transformational or a world-class work system looks like. Next. Get your head in the game. Doesn't that make sense? You get your head in the game. If you look at a team, if I've really got their head in the game, I'm going to get better results than if I don't have their head in the game. But we're not done yet. Next. Heart. Just imagine what happens if you can move more of your workers to get their head and their heart in the game. That's true engagement. When you have that and you have a goodly percentage of your workforce, and this, you're not going to get them all there, but if you can increase the percentage from that on the left to that on the right, you're starting to hit singles, doubles, and maybe even a home run. Then you're going to get above average or excellent results. And right now, there's about 30% in this category, about 70% in the other category. So we've got a 70% opportunity to increase the engagement of the workforce, and that will give us better results. Next. All right, this is as I said, this is going to be a little bit of a Cintas case study. Some of you have seen this before. This started with Intel on their evolution of safety excellence, and then Cintas modified it. Actually, I modified it a little bit for them. And let's just take a look at this. And this says there's 5 phases, and oh darn it, the 5th phase. The slide is a little out of focus. Here's the 5th phase right here, and that belongs over here. So I don't know how there's some minion changed that on me. But anyway, you've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Phase 5 is right here, and I'm going to guess none of you really work for organizations who are in the phase 0, 1, or 2. Some might be in the phase 3. I'm hoping most of you are in the phase 4, and even some in the phase 5. So if you're in those early phases, what drives health and safety? Discipline and compliance. If you're into the phases 2, 3, maybe then you're going to get into, well, we're self-introspective and we're data focused. We're going to look at our data, and we certainly don't want to hurt as many people next year as we did this year. So let's do something better. But phase 4 and 5 is where you're culture focused. Now, I'm gonna create some people who aren't going to like what I'm going to say right now. I do not believe in a strong health and safety culture. I do not believe in a strong health and safety culture. Oh my goodness. That's my other phone. Hopefully my wife will get it. I apologize for that. I'm gonna have to let that ring. She picks it up. There we go. Okay. Let's see. I kind of lost my train of thought there. Anyway, it's culture. Oh, that's right, culture. As I said, I probably offended a number of you by saying I do not believe in a strong safety culture. What I believe and what we had at Procter & Gamble and what we were able to do at Cintas was inculcate health and safety into the culture of the organization. Now think of the power. Now that's a separate subject. You can tell I'm emotional about it, but think of the power if health and safety is not over here as a health and safety culture, because then you got a health and safety culture, you got this culture, you got that. You want health and safety embedded in the overarching culture of the enterprise. That's when good things happen. And that's what we were able to achieve at Cintas, and that's where we got health and safety at P&G. As I said, it moved from a staff staff requirement to something that drives the business. So that's next slide. Now, phase 4 and 5 is going to require engagement, and safety has to become a value. And when it's a value, you treat it different than if it's just a requirement. So what we want to do now is move our organization much more into phase 4 and 5, and that requires engagement. Next. Okay, so how do we increase engagement? Well, it's simple, by being more transformational and less transactional. So now we're going to get into a short tutorial on transformational leadership. Next. Okay, you had excellent examples, but just so we're all on the same page, here's some more examples. Your examples were excellent. These also. A transactional behavior is a quid pro quo relationship between the worker and the leader. You do this for me, and I'll give that to you. You do this for me, or else. It's task-oriented. That came up. Regulatory compliance. I'm all for regulatory compliance, but regulatory compliance will get you about average, maybe slightly above average. It won't get you to excellence. Then it has to do with preserving existing culture, conditions, and practices. It really doesn't drive the culture anywhere. It tends to preserve the status quo. You know as well as I do, if you maintain the status quo, you will fall behind. And here's the bottom line. I want you to keep this line. A transactional behavior, a transactional leader is likely to focus more on the work than the worker. That's key. That's key. They're very skewed on get the darn widgets out the door. I don't care how you do it, but get the widgets out the door, as opposed to, hey, folks, we really got to get these widgets out the door. Let me know what I can do to help you meet that objective. Next. Okay. Transformational behavior, it results in the worker's values aligning with the leader's values. It's a mutual self-interest. You know, you want the workers to really care about what they're doing. It empowers the workers to engage in the work process, go beyond their self-interest. They're not going to do that if you treat them like cogs in a wheel. They'll only do that if you engage and involve their head and their heart in the game. It's got to go beyond their self-interest. The leader is engaged with the work. I'm going to show you a short video of what that could look like from a CEO of a major company, Cintas, engaging with the shop floor workers. And the leader cares about the workers. Do I demonstrate I care in some meaningful way? And then transformational leaders will maximize, optimize the contribution to get functional excellence excellence. And here's the bottom line. A transformational leader focuses both on the work and the worker. Not a transformational leader focuses on the worker, but a transformational leader has a good balance of focusing on the work and the worker. And that's what we're trying to do, is increase the functioning and the transformational side, because they tend to be skewed to the transactional side. Next. All right. Transactional leadership is not bad. You need it. You need some of it. In fact, it's essential. But as I said, with so many leadership characteristics, we need to bring balance to play. And a transactional leader will not maximize or will not get you excellence. It'll get you about average. Now, here's the key. Most senior managers, now maybe not in your organization, but my experience has been typically if you meet with executive committees, and usually when I go into a company to work with them, I would want to meet with their senior management. At P&G, we call it the executive committee. And basically, most senior managers tend to be hardwired transactional. Not all of them, but most of them. All right, next. So where is your senior management? Just take a minute, think about, oh gosh, where's my overarching senior management? And gosh, if you're able to say, you know, I've got quite a few transformational leadership, or I got quite a few people who've got a good balance, great. Leverage those people. And so wherever it comes out, I don't know, but wherever it comes out, where is your senior management? Be brutally honest. When I ask these introspective questions, be very honest. Don't sugarcoat them. Don't say, oh, I think my organization's pretty transformational. If you really don't think it is, at least to yourself say, we got some progress to make. Next slide. Okay, functional excellence. Let's see, what was this? I believe in functional excellence. And functional excellence means, what is the function? At Procter & Gamble, the three primary functions in our plant was, what did it cost to make the case of Tide? How much Tide can we make per hour? And was it a quality product that would meet the customer's expectations? For P&G, it was cost, production, quality. Then for Cintas, it's customer service. And then for anybody, employee relations, compliance. My point is, this transformational leadership stuff will drive functional excellence. Engagement will drive functional excellence. And health and safety certainly is key, and that's the subject of today. But functional excellence goes well beyond health and safety. And I'll give you an example of that in just a minute. Next. This is the example. This is a micro case. This is Cintas plant. And the Cintas plant had a good general manager, but then a general manager came in who was a true transformational leader, Scott Butts. Let's look at the results that Scott got. Can you see my can you see my little cursor move around here? Probably not. Nope. Okay. Anyway, the first one in the top left hand, TIR. That's total recordable incident rates, and those are injuries that usually in the United States OSHA standard, there's a criteria for recordable injuries, which means it has to reach a certain level of seriousness before it's recordable. I don't want to go into detail. Fact of the matter is, when Scott took over, their recordable incident rate, they were hurting 8 out of every 100 people every year. 8 out of every 100 people were getting hurt to some level that required recordability. After 3 years, Scott drove that number down to less than 1 per 100 person. But now, here's where I'm saying this stuff goes well beyond health and safety. Their percent increase in profit, 191% increase in profit, 49% increase in customer satisfaction, which is a very important output for Cintas, 43% decrease in lost business. This one really got me because when Cintas engaged me in 2008, and when I had an initial meeting, they told me their turnover rate was over 75%, and it just blew my mind because at Procter & Gamble, our turnover rate was minuscule. We hardly turned people over. Look what Scott was able to do. He was able to lower that turnover rate by 76%. And then another one, a business metric, total material cost, reduced total material cost 25%. So anyway, that's a micro, that's a single site, a single plant, not a company. Next, please. I said to Scott, I said, people aren't going to believe these data. Tell me something that can put some trust behind these data. And here's what Scott told me, quote, our vision, not my vision, our vision was to create a culture of caring. I personally marketed, communicated, demonstrated, and taught this message from the moment I began serving the partners of Portsmouth. He saw himself as a servant leader. There's a transformational leader. Guess what? Scott is a Marine, lean and mean. And I'll show you a picture of him. But the guy got it, and he just drove business success. He was promoted out of that job after a very short period there. Okay, now we're going to go. Next slide, please. Now, this is the macro. This is the macro case. Here's Cincinnati, Cintas's financial performance. We started working with them in 2008, and in 2010, they took the executive committee off for a full day and a half of health and safety training. One half of that day was spent on a workshop I put together for them on transformational leadership. Let's take some, this is in the annual report, return on average equity, 2010, 8%. You can see the numbers, 2012, 13, 2014, 17%, gradual increase in an important business metric. Remember, I said you've got to communicate health and safety results in business metric terms. Now, as the text says, certainly this wasn't all involved with health and safety and them becoming more transformational, but a lot of it was by their own admission. Now, let's go on from there. I quit that table, and let's look at something that's really important, stock price. I actually bought some Cintas stock when I was working with him, and I'm darn glad I did. The stock price in 2014, at the end of this, was $78 a share. Stock price last week, let's see, the 6th, whenever the 6th was, that was last week. The stock price last week was $716, actually $179, but they had a 4-for-1 split. So that would have meant $716. So I'm not trying to say that health and safety and transformational leadership drove all of this, but it drove by their own admission a major piece of this. So health and safety can drive the business. Next. Okay, now, Leo, let's try to do this. Go to the next slide. Now, click on the arrow down there, and this is a video, and I'll explain it. Okay.
Good to meet you.
That's the
Have a good
CEO,
day, okay?
Scott
Thanks for all
Farmer.
you do.
They're touring a Portsmouth plant. And executive Scott, there's Scott Bucks. Bill Holloman, the president. This is just whatever. CEO, executive, president, CEO, president. Look at their interaction. Executive, president,
All right, man. Pleasure
president,
to meet you. Okay. All right.
CEO, executive, president. Here's good. This is Scott Bucks returning to the plant after being gone. Look at the welcoming he got. He's the big boss. There's the CEO. Scott Bucks talking to a partner. Scott Bucks getting back on the shop floor. Okay, next slide. Now, that segment was not taken for this purpose. I was looking at some video, and it was not done for health and safety at all. But when I saw this, I asked permission to take this 1-minute clip and use it in my training material because it demonstrates what transformational leadership really looks like. And you saw how these senior executives, of then it was about a $6 billion company. It's now about a $16 to $17 billion company. But you saw that. So here we're going to get into some skill building. And for those of you with commitments, I know a bunch of people are bugging, don't blame you. We should be done close to 5 o'clock. So typically when I do training, and when Cintas asked me to develop a training on transformational leadership, I obviously did a lot of reading and research and found out that there's probably about 30 performance characteristics you could use to describe a transformational leader. Now, I knew darn well that there's no way I'm going to train on 30 particular performance characteristics, and because no one's going to walk away with that. My whole credo in training and learning is 3 to 5. Don't expect people to leave with any more than 3 and at a max 5 key learnings from any segment that you give. And that goes for today. If you leave with 2 to 3 critical learnings, key learnings from what I've talked about, that's a success for you and a success for me. So now I've narrowed this down from 5 skills that I would, when I do this for corporations or for professional development seminar or for Harvard, I get about an hour and 3/4. I train on 5 characteristics. I'm only going to train on 3. The characteristics I left out is caring and engage and let's see, being collegial. Yeah, being collegial and communicating. Those are the 2 I left out. So anyway, there's 3 we're going to train on. At the Harvard course, we actually spend an hour and a half on listening skills. So next slide. Okay, I'll give you these, and then I'm going to ask you to do a little work on the next 2. But these are just to get you understanding. You know, there's a difference between hearing someone and listening to someone, and that's very important. And again, I've got a module on that, but we're not going to get into that. But just stick with me if you haven't given much thought to what makes a good listener. First, do I seek to understand before I'm understood? That's a Covey. That's one of Covey's 7 habits. I'm a Stephen Covey devotee. 7 habits for highly effective people. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Listen for meaning and feeling, not just for facts. That's empathic listening. And I had to catch myself because I'm kind of left-brained. You know, just get to the bottom line. Give me the facts. No, be sure you take some time to listen for meaning and feeling, and not just the facts. Don't interrupt or don't develop a response while the person's speaking. If you really listen and get the message, excuse me. You will understand it. If you don't listen, you may have to come back and seek clarification, or you might do the wrong thing. Being open to the speaker in the way that it shows. I think you saw those executives walked around. They were willing to listen to whatever that shop floor worker, in their case, they call them partners, were going to say. So those are some characteristics. Now let's go on to the next 2 and put you to work a little bit. Next slide. Okay, what I'd like you to do, I think what we're going to do here is use chat and just come up with what you think could be some other characteristics that would demonstrate caring. Get a tablet out so I can write these down. Okay, go ahead and use chat. And what do you think would be another characteristic of a leader who's caring? Building trust by forming a relationship. Right, relationship. Okay, any more? Don't be bashful. All right, here we go. Fighting, okay, fighting, sticking up for them, fighting for their rights, sticking up for them. Follow up on concerns with it. Very good. Scott Butts, wow, I'm getting a lot of them. They're going to run out of my page here. Hold on. Wait, just wait a minute. They're great. Follow up on concerns and solutions. Absolutely. Scott Butts was great with that. Willing to be wrong. Wonderful. Listening. Shows empathy. Empathic. Recognition. Give credit. Great. Wow. You folks have really responded well to that. Okay. Be open for suggestions. Studies to make improvements based on these. Scott Butts had a suggestion box. Now you're rolling your eyes. Oh my God, a suggestion. Not Scott did. The Cintas plant had a suggestion box where Scott was. Scott looked at every single suggestion and he responded personally to the individual who gave him that suggestion. There's a difference there. What Scott would do is he'd go up and say, hey, Joe, that's a great suggestion, but I just don't think we can do that. And let me tell you why. Or, hey, Sandy, what a great suggestion. We're going to try to implement that. The point is, he was open. He said, he thanked him for the suggestion. And if he wasn't going to act on it, he told him. That's maintaining credibility. So very good. That's very good. So you guys got that. Yours are going to be as good or better than the ones I'm going to share. Next slide, please. Okay, you'll see some overlap. Being interested and sensitive to the needs of others, right? Absolutely. Demonstrating in a visual way you care about the health and safety of your employees. That's very critical when Cintas executives, once they started getting their head on straight, when Cintas executive would tour, instead of asking, well, how many uniforms are we able to put out per hour, as their first question, they talked about, well, how do you feel about working here? How do you feel about your health and safety? They didn't go right into the business stuff. They started with stuff that meant something, showed they cared about the person doing the work. Be willing to interact at all levels of your organization. I think you saw here a CEO and a president interacting very easily with the workforce, and you saw a general manager do that and interact with workers in a manner that says I care. So you've captured that pretty well. In fact, you captured it very well. Now, next, please. Oh, that's right. You've heard the expression, walk a mile in your moccasins. That's the best way to understand, to show you care. Next. Okay, engaging. What can I do to engage? To demonstrating a personal connection with subordinates. And now why don't you folks take a shot at it? You knocked it out of the park with the first one on caring. So let me see what you got. All right, I haven't gotten any yet. So anybody on engaging? There we go. Right, Friday beers. Very good. Okay. Listen, relate outside of work. Absolutely. I'll come back to that in a minute. All right. Having face-to-face talks instead of emails. Whoopee! Absolutely. Open to feedback. Right. In other words, you want to feel, if you're the leader, you want to feel you're open to feedback from those below you. Kind of have lunch at the same table. Absolutely. Team building, relating an experience you've had with one they are having. Yeah, self-identify, open-minded, find a personal connection. Ask for these are wonderful. Being interested in their work, ask questions about their work, see what they do. That's right. How are you doing that? I know we need to fold all these uniforms. Now, how are we getting that many done per hour? Sharing personal experiences, paying for their lunch. Yeah, those are all good. Okay, you folks really get the idea. And what I find, the more years I do this, the more people do understand it. When I started training on transformational leadership, I wasn't getting these kind of responses at all. So I'm delighted to see this concept is taking hold. Next slide, please. Yeah, so these are no better than yours. Demonstrating a personal connection with subordinates. We certainly had something that sounded like that. Communicate directly in a caring and friendly manner. Again, not email, but directly. Helping subordinates to commit to achieve the results. It's just like, well, no, guys, we got to get 100 widgets an hour out the door today. That's darn important. Let me know, what can I do to help you meet that objective? Or how can I do to help us meet that objective? You engage with them. You don't say, get those darn widgets out the door. We need 100 an hour, and walk away. Stick with them. Okay, conveying a sense of worth to subordinates. They're not just cogs in the wheel. And I think you could see that interaction in that short video. And linking the workers' needs with the company's mission. Mutual, what's the mutual self-interest? What's in it for me? How do I get to feel good about what I'm doing? If you want 110 widgets an hour, what's that going to mean? How am I going to feel good if we achieve that objective? So those are some examples, and I'm blown away by how fast you threw out these excellent examples on each of these performance characteristics. And they're interchangeable. Some might say, well, that one's not engaging, that one's caring. No, I don't care. Just wherever they fit in your mind is what's important. What category you put them in, as long as you think about how important it is to listen, how important it is to care and demonstrate your care, and how important it is to engage. It's not just you. The value of this little seminar is you taking it and transferring this knowledge to others who need it. That's the value. If you get it and you're saying, oh, this stuff is I know all this stuff. Take the slides, take whatever we're talking about, and use it to transfer the knowledge you already have with the information we're sharing today. Next. This is an article. It really talks about the engaging and transformational leadership. I think it's in a handout. Next. All right, now that assessment. I think Matthew or somebody mentioned have the assessment, and we're getting really close to ending this. We should be done very close to 5 o'clock or maybe just a few minutes after. What I want you to do, don't start yet. If you've got that form, if we wanted you to have it printed out, if you don't, I'll put it up on the screen for you. But just take a minute, okay? This is simply to establish a benchmark. Where are you on the transformational leadership scales? This is not an exhaustive assessment. Rate yourself based on how you interact above and below, particularly on the shop floor. Be brutally honest. No one's going to see your results. Don't sugarcoat this. Don't overthink it. You're only going to get a couple of minutes. Put down the first rating that comes to mind. Just you're going to see these 5 characteristics. I only trained on 3, but you're going to take the assessment on 5. Don't start getting overly analytical. Put down where you think you are right away. That's probably going to be the truest. Keep in mind, 1 is the lowest skill level, 10 is the highest. 5 categories. Put down your ratings of 1 to 10, divide by 5 to come up with a single number. Simple enough. Okay, next slide. Okay, this is the assessment, and you should have printed it out. So just take a few minutes. We're not going to dwell on it. You're going to go pretty quickly here. I'm only going to give you a couple of minutes to fill out this assessment. Okay, 1 more minute. Remember, you just go through. You should be done by now, but I'll just give you another minute. Okay, be sure you're tabulating your numbers and dividing by 5. Okay, next slide. All right, how'd you do? Well, my experience working with health safety professionals, we're a pretty transformational group of people. Even though I'm left-brained, I'm kind of over there. It takes a while for Rick because he's so darn left-brained, but I got there a little bit. Okay, how'd you do? So I don't think we're going to have anybody in 0 to 2. I don't think we'll have anybody in 3 to 5, but we could if you're brutally honest with yourself, and you might say, well, in the value of catching yourself in a 3 to 5 category is, you've got room to improve, and now you've got some learnings that will let you improve. So the only way one improves is to very critically evaluate where you are. I'm going to guess a lot of you are in the 6 to 7. This transformational stuff makes sense, and then what you can do is, if you're beyond that, then you're transformational. Now put it to use, and importantly, share it with others. And one of the ways you could do that is say, listen, we had this conference, and this old guy talked about something called transformational leadership and engagement, and let me tell you about it. Kind of help people get themselves to be more transformational. It's what you do with it yourself, but it's also transferring this information is really valuable. Okay, next. Okay, now you've got one for the enterprise. It's exactly the same, but what I'd like you to do on a take-home type of thing, if you'd like, is assess the organization you're in or your overarching enterprise. You pick whatever sub-organization or the whole enterprise. You say, I want to do an assessment for such and such a team. I want to do assessment for the whole enterprise. I want to do assessment for my own division. You pick it, but this is a kind of a group assessment, and you can do it for more than one. Now you've got these sheets, so you can use them. Say, well, I'm going to do an assessment on my division, then I'm going to do an assessment on my company or my enterprise. So it's there for you to take home. Next, please. That's it. You've got it. Next. So next. Okay, so today's objectives, we want to talk about this concept of engagement and how important it is. And since engagement is so important, how do I increase engagement? You increase engagement by having your leadership and your managers be more transformational and a little bit less transactional. We talked about some skills. We talked about 3 skills: listening, caring, engaging. You did an assessment on 5 skills that included being collegial and communicating. Where were you on the scale? And if you like where you are, fine, continue to grow. If you don't like where you are, do something about it. And then where's your enterprise on this scale? And if you don't like where they are, do something about it. Transfer the knowledge we had today. So basically, where to from here? What's your path forward? I know you all got a lot to do, but I'm hoping you do bend over and pick up at least 1 or 2 pearls you're going to take on your path forward. Next. Okay, this is in any of you are interested in more on leadership and management skills, the course we designed for the Harvard School of Public Health is called Management Leadership Skills, and this is the link. And it's offered on campus every March, and it's 4 days devoted to management leadership skills, focused right for EHS professionals. It's very international. It's not US centric at all. We typically have about 50 people in each class, and at least 13 to 16 are from out of the country: Canada, far away places, Mexico, all over the world. So it does have an international bent to it. Next, please. Okay, where to from here? First, this stuff isn't new, but it's not broadly practiced or understood. So now, hopefully, you've got some of that so you can carry it forward. So that's the next step. This TFL message needs to be delivered broadly. You may have to coach up in your organization. You may have to somehow influence those above you, not just those below you. And you have to decide, what's your role in making this happen? What do I have a role? You can just say, I don't want to do any, I don't want to mess with this, that's your decision. But if this resonates, it makes little sense, what can I do to become more transformational myself, to help my working colleagues and those around me become more transformational? And the big bite is, how can I make the organization or the enterprise more transformational? Next. Okay, well, thanks for giving me this opportunity. I love talking about the subject, and so I wish you all well as you go forward in your career. I mean, I'll hang around as long as you want for questions and comments. But anyway, that's it. So if there's any questions or comments, put them in the chat, and we'll go